Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. You join me today here at my beloved Goodwood and I'm here with my i3S. I say my i3S, it's not actually mine. I took delivery of it in June 2022 on a 3-year 10,000 mile a year lease. Now in the last 18 months we've gotten along with it so well that I've recently increased the mileage from 10,000 a year to 12,000 a year because we're getting such good use out of it. It has been mostly trouble-free for the 18 months that I've had it. It's not due to dealer until April 24 for its first vehicle check. I say mostly trouble-free. I've had two issues. The first one is I have a slight knock in the steering, and I mean slight, it's barely detectable, and it's really only when manoeuvring at parking speeds. I've heard that it can be front turret strut tops or something. It does feel like there's maybe, I don't know, a little bit of a kink in the steering rack. I had that on my Clio in the past on my 172 Cup. It's not serious. It's certainly not enough to warrant a trip to the dealer to sort. And the other thing that I've had is I once had a drivetrain error, and that was powering out of a roundabout. All of a sudden, dashboard lit up, Christmas tree, and it said drivetrain error, pull over and call for assistance. So I pulled over, did the traditional IT thing, turned it off and then on again 2 or 3 times, and eventually it reset and I could continue my journey on my way home. That's happened once. It never happened since. I did think I should call the dealer and have them just give it a once over, but I never got around to it and it's not happened since. So it's been a very, very reliable little thing. I'm 18 months into the 3-year lease now. I've done 16,000 miles. So here are my thoughts on BMW's first attempt at a pure battery electric vehicle, 10 years after this thing was originally released. In true internet style, I'm going to give you my 5 likes and my 5 dislikes. I'm going to start with the dislikes. Most of these are really, really petty because I've really struggled to find anything negative about this car, but we'll start with number 1, which is the A-pillar. Now in the cabin, here's the A-pillar. And why have I mentioned this? Well, it's just so damn wide. My Cayman is nothing like that. It's much, much thinner. The C-Max as well, very thin. And I've never really struggled with the A-pillar obscuring view when driving. But this thing really does sometimes completely block out a car, especially if you're following it around a corner. And I find myself sometimes looking left and right. That's mostly, or I would think, it's because of the way this thing's built, the fact that it's made of carbon fibre. So they've had to make that part of the frame, the chassis, the body, a bit thicker because of the materials used, but still to give it the strength that it needs. And dislike number 2 is the infotainment. Not the fact that it's got the small screen, it should have had the bigger one, but supply chain issues meant that as they got towards the end of the manufacturing life of the i3, they started shipping things that should have had the bigger screen with the smaller screen. That's not my concern with it, that's not the problem. It's the fact that, firstly, the sat-nav does some random things every morning on my drive to work. I have the sat-nav on, so it will route me if there's any hold-ups, if there's any problems, take me the quickest way. And I've got 2 routes that I can go. One is only marginally different to the other, but it's always quicker. And yet every single morning it says, when I get to a roundabout, turn left and you'll get to work at 6:45. I go straight over on the roundabout, it recalculates and it says, oh, you're going to get there at 6:40. Well, if it knows that, why doesn't it tell me to go that way? Infuriating. And the other thing that irks me somewhat over the infotainment is that it's not Android Auto compatible. I did find out completely by surprise, because I wasn't aware this car had it, that it has Apple CarPlay. My daughter plugged her iPhone in, or connected it, actually she didn't even plug it in, so it was wireless. She connected it via Bluetooth and we had Apple CarPlay. But there's no Android Auto. That's a negative from me. Dislike number 3 is the indicator stalk. So still in the cabin, this thing here. Why do I dislike this? Well, this is the same as it was on my M140 in that it doesn't actually lock into place. So it always springs back to the center. Now there is a point of resistance where you can hold it and it will just blink. If you push it all the way up, it then engages and it will keep going until you cancel. But it just doesn't feel positive. Sometimes you're coming off of a roundabout or something like that. It's not cancelled. You go to cancel it. But because you don't hear a click as the indicator stalk would normally self-cancel, sometimes you go to cancel it at the time that it cancels itself, and then you end up indicating the other way. A little bit frustrating, nothing major. Like I said, these are all quite petty. Number 4 is the seat bolstering, or I should say, complete total lack of any seat bolstering. There's nothing. They're comfortable enough, these chairs. They're kind of like deck chairs because they're so thin. But there's nothing. There's a tiny little bit of sculpture upwards at the edge, but that's just foam, not enough to keep you in place. So any enthusiastic driving, you end up hanging onto the steering wheel for your life as you throw it around corners. So yeah, no seat bolstering. Don't expect to be held in place or feel like you're sat in something sporty. And number 5 is the size of the windscreen. That's an odd one. Why am I saying that then? Well, it's because the way this is built, the position of the driver's seat, the way the windscreen slopes away is A, is very big, but B, it's almost impossible to reach to the bottom if you need to clean it. I've only cleaned it once. It's absolutely filthy at the moment, and the reason is it's just such an awkward windscreen to get to clean. So here I am then. Let's say I'm going to get in and clean this. There we go, all the way there. And for me to clean it, I can barely just about reach the bottom there. Oh, for goodness sake. Can only just about reach that. Ugh. And I'm 6'1" and I can barely manage it. That's the dislikes then. Now we'll move on to the likes. Number 1, it's looks. Now I did make a video about the iconic i3. I'll stick a link up in the corner there if you want to go and watch that. But I closed that video off saying that 10 years after it was released in 2013, here we are in 2023, and it doesn't look like a 10-year-old car. It still looks fresh. It's still, you know, internally as well, it doesn't seem to have aged at all. So that's a big positive for me. The way this thing looks, it really, really has grown on me. Number 2 is, quite frankly, its mad design and build. BMW did something really quite special when they made this back in 2013. They used all sorts of exotic materials, every single body panel. Flexes, because they're all plastic, so you won't see one of these dented. The roof, that's carbon fibre. You can see a bit of flex in there. The bonnet is plastic. You've got honeycombed wipers. You've got, if we open up the side, you've got this mad arrangement with what I think people refer to as suicide doors. And you can see, not sure it's going to come up on the camera, but well, maybe. This is all carbon fibre all the way around. Everything. They really went to town on making this out of some exotic materials and pushing the boundaries of car design. They threw the rule book away, even down to the 20-inch wheels. Now, I'm not sure if 20s were available back when this was originally released in 2013. It may have been 19s. But think back in 2013, 18s were considered quite a big size. 19s was reserved for real top tier sports cars. And yet this thing came on 19-inch wheels with little 155 section tyres. Number 3, its size and its weight. As a result of the aforementioned mad build and design, of course this is all made of carbon fibre. Everything in the drive module, which is beneath where I'm sat, is made of aluminium. They went to town on taking weight out of this car. And you really feel it when you drive it. It doesn't feel like any of the other EVs I've driven. I got 8 EVs at work. I've driven almost all of them, you feel the mass on them all. Yet this, it does feel like a lightweight hatchback, and that translates to, it feels agile. It's got a small footprint. Whilst it's quite a big car internally, it's very, very small footprint outside. So it's easy to place on the road, it's light, it's agile, it's nimble, it's responsive. All very, very good and very enjoyable things. And number 4 is its power delivery. Anyone that's driven an EV will know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, if you've only ever driven combustion cars, you really should give one a go. The way the power is delivered is like nothing else. The fact that you have all of the torque from 0 RPM makes it a unique driving experience. On this, because this is the i3S with a bit more power and, you know, flared wheel arches and so on, there's a sport mode. And to i3 owners, if you've not tried an i3S and tried sport mode, you may think comfort mode or your normal driving mode has a sharp throttle. That's nothing compared to what this is like. It's razor sharp. So that razor sharp throttle, the instant power delivery, fantastic. Number 5, and this is the main one for me, it's rear wheel drive. I can't stress that enough. I've got a Porsche Cayman at the moment as my own car, my fun car. Before that, I had a BMW M140i, and you can feel that DNA in this car. You can feel that it is basically a rear-wheel drive BMW. It feels that. I love the fact that, unlike some of the other EVs I've driven, being front drive or four-wheel drive, you have some adjustability from the back. You can, you know, rotate the car a little bit. It doesn't let you go very far with it, but it's there and it's adjustable, and it's quite engaging when it does it. And if I'm honest, it's just an absolute hoot. I will just briefly talk about range and charging. Now, I didn't in my 3-month, 2,500 mile review, and a few comments said, oh, you should share something with us. I wasn't sure it was relevant because I don't charge publicly. I've got 3 22 kilowatt chargers at work that I top this up with on a daily basis. Occasionally, I'll give it some 3-pin love at home, but apart from that, that's it. I did go out and try the public charge network once. I'll put a link up in the corner there to that video where I went and DC charged it, because I thought I should know that it takes a DC charge. So I did that. But yeah, so my charging experience, I don't think I've got anything to share really, but just to give you some headline numbers. Since I've had the car, it logs on the app on your phone all of the charge that you put into the car. And I have put in, it's around 5,200 kilowatt hours. I've done 16,000 miles. So that means I've averaged 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. Therefore, with the 42 kilowatt hour battery that this model has fully charged, that means I get an average range of 140 miles. 2 things to note on that efficiency, and that is that one, that average is all year round. That includes, well, basically 2 winters and 1 summer. So, you know, we do get 170, 180 in the summer. In the depths of winter, it does drop down into the 120s. Takes about 1/3 of the range off, is what I've found in the you know, darkest depths of the cold winter. So that's something to be aware of. The other point is, I don't think my driving is necessarily typical of what your normal, more average i3 driver is going to do. I tend to drive this thing absolutely flat out everywhere. It's not a particularly cold day today, I think 11 or 12 degrees, and I'm average, well, 2.9 it says there, 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. Let's see if we can get that down some more. Something else I'll mention is the cost of tyres. Now, I had to replace, not long ago, the 2 rears, mostly because I spend an awful lot of time doing things like this. I had to replace them, and a pair, they come in at about £500. Offsetting that cost is the fact that you can get a set of fronts for about £250, £270 when I last looked. Still, that's £750 for a set of tyres all round. that gets N-rated tyres. For that money, that'll put a set of M-rated tyres on my Porsche Cayman. And they're 265 wide at the back and they're 235 wide at the front. $750 for a full set of those, or $750 for a set of these bicycle tyres on the i3. So be aware of that if you're looking at one of these cars. There you have it then. That's my take on BMW's iconic little i3. I'm genuinely gutted they don't make it anymore. The 18 months that I've had this, half of my time I'm going to get with this, have flown by, and it's been such an enjoyable thing to just throw around, use for daily commuting, use for the odd thrash here and there, family duties. It's perfect. It's everything I personally could want from an electric vehicle. I would have another of these in a heartbeat. End of this lease, if they were still making it, put my name down. I'd take another one straight away. Sadly, that's not the case. I am leaning in the direction of a Kia, and also recently announced Volvo has caught my attention. Not sure which way I'm going to go. Don't have to make a decision on that immediately. Probably within the next 6 to 9 months I should be making a decision and placing an order on what the replacement's going to be. So if you want to see which direction I go or what EV is going to replace this, then please make sure you subscribe. Hit the thumbs up on this video, hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss the uploads when I eventually get round to doing some content on this thing. If you own an i3, you've got any comments, thoughts, anything else you'd like to share, or questions, then please leave them in the comments below the video. And thank you very, very much for watching.